Hello, welcome to Record Time. My name is Mina. I'm happy to be here with you. Today, the Akashic Records have an interesting inquiry for us, so I'm excited to just dive in. The keepers of the Akashic Records are asking us, where are you channeling a lot of energy into not doing something? Where are you channeling a lot of energy into not doing something? And this is interesting. You might have heard, you might kind of play with the concept of an energy leak. This is almost the opposite of that. This is almost like funneling lots of energy from the inside into a place to keep something down. And so we can think of it, it's not like letting lots of energy out, but it's almost like feeling a lack of energy because we're using so much of our inner resources to not do something. And so another way to consider this is, where are you spending, using, circulating a lot of your energy towards stifling an organic emergence? Where are you using your energy to quiet down, to almost like lock down, to distance yourself from a natural unfolding? So yeah, it's like suppressing an impulse, a natural impulse that wants to happen. And instead of allowing that natural impulse to happen, we're spending our energy to block it, to not let it come out. And when you think of this, it might be like a literal thing that you're actively trying to not do. And the example that comes to mind is like sobriety, right? It's like we're spending our energy consciously to not do something. And this is different than that. So using your energy to consciously choose to not do something is different than what I'm talking about right now. This is more like, this is a very subtle, unconscious, right? Unknown, kind of slippery thing. So this is something that we wouldn't necessarily be overtly aware of unless we take a moment to seek it out and to investigate and to look at it. So let me see what else is there. There's a lot around this. So yeah, thinking about this in a subtle way, it's almost like where in your life, where in your body even, are you exerting your energy, right, to almost like desensitize yourself a little bit to the impulse of like, I want to do this or I don't want to do this? Where are you using your energy to create a little bit of detachment from that, to create a little bit of space from your conscious awareness and that impulse, where it's like, if I don't look at it, it's not real. If I don't know that it's there, if I can't feel the contact with that organic impulse, then it's a lot easier to just do what I have to do. So if there's a thing that I want to do, but I know that I can't do it, that I won't be able to listen to that impulse, we might be using a lot of energy to not even feel what the impulse is. And so again, this is happening in the background, under the surface. We might not be choosing it. This is kind of, in a way, it's a very supportive mechanism that's happening, right? So it's like, if you have something that is a no, like, I don't want to do this, but you have to say yes. Maybe you have an obligation that you have to say yes to, so you can't say no. It makes sense, right? There's an intelligence in this to use a lot of internal, unconscious energy to channel your energy into not even feeling that that's a no. Because if you can feel the contact of that impulse that's like, no, I don't want to do that, it makes it a lot harder to have to say yes to that, right? It's almost like, okay, we'll just numb it. We'll just distance ourselves from it. We'll just detach from what we want to do. That way we can do what we have to do. And so what happens when we do that is like, there is this sense of disconnect from ourself, from our natural, like organic, emergent selves, right? The deep self, as I often say. So it's like, when we're using a lot of our energy to quiet down the deep self, we are left feeling disconnected from ourselves and often dissatisfied because we're not listening to ourselves. And it's not that we're not just doing what our deep self wants, it's that we're not even listening to what it has to say. So heeding its guidance is one thing, but not even listening to it is another. And again, right, there's intelligence to this mechanism. It's easier to just power through and do what we have to do if we don't even feel the contact with our own preferences. But there's something to be gained by acknowledging, wow, I really don't want to do that. And then in that moment of awareness, then you have a choice. Is there something, can I actually say no? Am I saying yes out of habit? So is there space to actually listen to that? Maybe there is, and we just didn't know. We didn't try because we weren't in contact with that organic impulse. And maybe it's that, okay, well, I really don't want to do it, but there isn't space to say no to that. I have to fulfill this obligation. At least there's a carrying with you of like, okay, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to fulfill this obligation. There's a sense of contact. And in that, there's a little bit more choice and freedom and space to be like, well, can I make this a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more attentive to my own needs, right? Is there something I can do to make this a little bit easier, even though I don't want to do it, but I have to, right? So it's like you can create more comfort and spaciousness for yourself by being in contact with the fact that that was a no, though you have to say yes. And I'm just using this as an example. It might be a yes and a no. You could reverse it, whatever. So, and then, yeah, the like last piece of this is when you're in contact with the no, right? Even if you can't, it's a no and you can't say no. It's a no and there's nothing you can do to make it more comfortable. It's just you have to do it and there's nothing you can do to make it more comfortable. You're at least freeing up all the energy, all the unconscious, right, subtle energy that was being used to suppress and stifle that no, to stifle the impulse, to make sure it wasn't even known to you. Because that takes a lot of energy to squelch and quiet down those organic impulses. So what you might find is, okay, I have to say yes. It might be not as comfortable as it could be. There's nothing I can do to adjust it. But you might find that you have a little bit more energy because you're not using all of that energy to deny the reality that the impulse exists, that the organic emergent experience and desire exists, that the deep self has a preference that exists. So that's the inquiry for today. Where in your life, where are you noticing that I'm spending a lot of energy, right, detaching from my organic impulse to make it easier to fulfill an obligation? And the last thing I'll say about this is that resentment is a clear guide and an ally. It's our friend and our compass point in this context. So if there are areas in your life where you're feeling resentment stirring, that could it's possible that that could be a sign that you're spending a lot of energy stifling something. So that can be a guidepost and a sign to inquire into that. Why is there resentment? What's the organic impulse that is really wanting to emerge? Am I denying something? Am I unconsciously, innocently using energy to deny this impulse? So, and the resentment will stir, because you can almost, I'm almost seeing it as like the resentment stirs. However much energy is being used to kind of squish that down, the friction, right, the inner energetic friction of that might be felt as resentment. So if you've been doing that for a while, you'll feel the heat and the resentment of that, and that's the sign to look there and just acknowledge. If there's nothing you can do, at least you can acknowledge it and free up that energy by reconnecting with the truth of your organic impulses. Okay. I would love to know what you think about this. How did this land for you? Did this spark something for you? Did this give you something to think about? I would love to know. So feel free to leave a comment on this or to send me a message on my website. I would love to hear from you. And until next time, I'm wishing you well. Namaste.